The boy I almost knew. I was kind to you as a stranger because you reminded me of a boy I almost knew in the 8th grade. He used to lay his head on my lap every day before school started. Every morning I would walk to school a good hour before it started. I would go early to get away from my parents' negativity, to enjoy the sunrise and the quiet while I read a book. This boy KC would be there early every morning too. He would come in his jean jacket and choppy hair, curl up next to me, and lay his head on my lap. I always imagined him to be abused because what 13-year-old boy comes to school that early? He never said a word and always seemed so sad. I suppose we were both sad loner kids who had issues at home. With all the mornings he laid his head on my lap, we never spoke. He would see me in the main building reading my book, and he would come in, lay down next to me, curl up, and lay his head in my lap while I kept reading my book in silence. This never weirded me out. I just kept reading my book in silence and pretending like I didn't have a head in my lap. I never said anything, never asked him why. He never said anything, never asked me if he could. Our souls were doing all the talking, I suppose. Children are such spiritual beings, and we were just innocent children. I guess I spiritually knew he needed someone and some kind of physical contact, and he spiritually knew he could get that from me. So every morning he'd come in, lay down, put his head on my lap, and lay there for a good 20 or 30 minutes while I read my book. He'd always get up before other students started trickling in, but after a while we got so comfortable that he wouldn't get up when other students arrived. We got a few weird looks at first, but after a while people just passed us right by like we were a fixture of the main hall. Even as the hallways filled up with students, noise, jokes, and laughter, it didn't stop us from being in our little bubble of peace and solitude. Over more time he would hang there longer, until the late bell for first period would ring, and I would let him. He wanted a few more minutes with me, and I wanted a few more minutes with my book and his sadness. For months, I read my book with my elbows up in the air as not to touch him or disturb him or freak him out, even though he was the one with his head in my lap. I didn't realize it was probably the touch that he wanted all along. After months went by, I started to stroke his hair and feel comfortable enough to lay my arm on him while I read. I got tired of holding my elbows up in the air and took a gamble that the wild creature I caught wouldn't run if I got more comfortable. I say all this to say, you remind me of him. When you quietly laid your head on my lap and didn't say a word, I knew you were in the same kind of anguish Casey was in. I felt it. Your man anguish felt the same as Casey's boy anguish, for anguish is anguish. So I stroked your hair, just as I did his in the 8th grade. I was quiet, just as I was quiet with him in the 8th grade. I spiritually listened and was there for you, just like I did for Casey. I hope I brought you as much healing now as I did as a child for another child. Soul communing is soul communing, no matter what age. This one goes out to that boy I almost knew. We never said 2 words to each other, but we had said enough.